A group of aggressive thugs chased after a male student, but to their surprise, he showed no fear. In fact, he even displayed a defiant, carefree attitude. With just a few swift blows, he instantly subdued two of them. At that critical moment, a girl suddenly appeared like a hero. She spread her small arms wide, shielding the stranger. Bohan, not wanting to cause any more trouble, pulled Mingxi's hand and fled the scene. The moment Mingxi threw a candy box behind them to block the thug's path, Bohan suddenly felt his otherwise dull youth burst forth with vibrant colors. Mingxi clutched his hand tightly, running for her life to escape, but Bohan could clearly hear his heart skip a beat because of this unexpected encounter. It turned out that in life, there are chance encounters that can make a person's youth shine with extraordinary brilliance. Once they safely boarded the train, Mingxi surmised that Bohan must be a professional athlete, given how tirelessly he could run. Cheerfully introduced herself, saying she was also preparing for a marathon. Bohan glanced at her petite figure and wondered how someone as small as Mingxi could possibly compete in such a grueling endurance race. Just as they were shaking hands, the train braked sharply. This incident caused Bohan to instinctively pull Mingxi closer to him for protection. Standing by the windy riverbank after getting off the train, Mingxi affectionately reminded Bohan that he should go home immediately after school and avoid fighting, as it would only harm him. He also reminded her that if she ever encountered a dangerous situation, she should prioritize protecting her own food instead of worrying about other people's affairs. Both Bohan and Mingxi thought they would never see each other again, but the ironic twist of fate was only just beginning. At the prestigious Academy of Talents, Mingxi was preparing a touching love letter to help her best friend, Chunian. Chunian longed for a romantic first kiss before graduating from high school. Unlike Mingxi, who was completely focused on her studies, Chunian's ultimate goal was the school's most handsome basketball team, including prominent names like Xiaoyang, Shuhao, Suji, and Captain Bohan. Chunian watched intently as Bohan skillfully threw the final shot into the hoop. She decided to write his name on the love letter. At this moment, Mingxi was astonished to realize that Bohan was the very person she had saved the day before. Faced with the four outstanding members of the basketball team, Chunian secretly left early due to nervousness, leaving her friend alone. From a distance, Bohan quickly recognized the familiar short-haired girl. Later at the noodle shop, Mingxi advised Chunian to think carefully about liking someone like Bohan. On her first day of school, Mingxi overheard the principal complaining about the school's top student getting into a fight with some thugs. The school decided to cover up the incident for Bohan to avoid damaging the school's illustrious reputation. While chatting, Mingxi suddenly remembered it was time to work, so she hurried off to her part-time job to earn money to support herself. The next day, when Mingxi arrived at the basketball court, she took the opportunity to hand out discount flyers for drinks, creating a chance for Chunian to deliver her love letter. Unexpectedly, Chunian was too embarrassed and ran away again. At that moment, a basketball accidentally hit Mingxi on the head. She was stunned and fell into Bohan's arms. During the short walk to the infirmary carrying Mingxi, Bohan seemed unable to take his eyes off her delicate and innocent face. Outside the soccer field, Shu Hao discovered a love letter mixed in with the flyers Mingxi had dropped. When Mingxi woke up from her sound sleep, she found Bohan sitting beside her, staring intently. Mingxi wanted to rush back to class, but Bohan insisted she stay and rest a little longer. Bohan said he heard from the doctor that she had hypoglycemia, so he thoughtfully bought some pastries for her. At this moment, Chunian rushed over to visit Mingxi. She didn't expect to meet her dream guy here. Mingxi cleverly pretended to have a headache to keep Bohan there to talk to Chunian. Mingxi fabricated a story about suffering from after effects of an injury and needed Bohan's contact information to reach him if anything happened. Chunian suddenly realized the love letter had been revealed and quickly withdrew her hand in fear. Bohan didn't hesitate to write his phone number on Mingxi's palm. He instructed her to call him immediately if any after effects occurred. Outside the infirmary, a girl named Zijiao, who had secretly harbored feelings for Bohan for a long time, was observing everything. Zijiao chased after Bohan and warned him to be wary of girls from low-class backgrounds like Mingxi. Zijiao believed that many poor families had poured all their savings into sending their children to elite academies, hoping for a chance to climb the social ladder and change their lives. Bohan coldly retorted that whether Mingxi belonged there or not was none of Zijiao's business. Back at the basketball court, Mingxi panicked when she couldn't find the flyer. She was terrified that the basketball team would find it and the love letter would fall into Bohan's hands. If he mistook Mingxi for the letter writer, it would cause huge trouble. Just then, Zijiao led the cheerleading squad to check on Mingxi's health with a fake expression. Zijiao even gave Mingxi a bottle of water to raise her blood sugar. Chunian whispered to her friend that Zijiao was the most beautiful girl in school and also the powerful captain captain of the basketball cheerleading team. Mingxi was startled and grabbed a bottle of cold water. Condensation on the outside of the bottle accidentally smudged Bohan's phone number written on her hand. When Bohan got home, he sat deep in thought, pondering the love letter he thought was from Mingxi. He suddenly realized she had pasted his name over Xiaoyan's. Bohan felt angry, thinking he was just a replacement, but deep down, he couldn't bring himself to throw the letter away. The next day, the gang leader, Zheng Wen, passed by the convenience store where Mingxi worked part-time. He was surprised to recognize Mingxi as the girl who had dared to argue with him the day before. He immediately sent 2 of his henchmen to cause her some trouble as revenge. Meanwhile, Mingxi was on the phone, checking if Bohan's smudged number was still working. The 2 thugs aggressively accused the store of selling counterfeit cigarettes and demanded compensation from Mingxi. When Mingxi firmly refused to take responsibility, they began vandalizing the store. Bohan unexpectedly walked in and loudly told the thugs to target him. He dragged them out of the store to avoid causing further trouble from Mingxi. Mingxi, worried, hurriedly chased after Bohan, but when she arrived, she saw that he had already dealt with 2 of the thugs, leaving them lying on the ground. Bohan threatened them, telling them not to touch his girlfriend again. When Mingxi returned to the store, she wondered why Bohan had appeared at such a crucial moment. He casually claimed he was just passing by and happened to see that she needed protection. Mingxi remembered the flyers she had with Bohan and asked him to return them. Because she was busy selling goods, he excused himself and left. He even proactively called her, reminding her to save his phone number. He told her over the phone that if she was in danger, she should call him. He said he would wait for her in front of the school gate the next morning. Meanwhile, Zijiao overheard 2 thugs spreading rumors that Mingxi was Bohan's girlfriend, which made her tanned. Extremely angry, Zheng Wen seized the opportunity to say that Bohan wasn't worthy of Zijiao. He hoped she would pay attention to him. She firmly asserted that she only considered him a good older brother. Zijiao asked him to investigate Mingxi's background to find a way to force her to stay away from Bohan. Early the next morning, Mingxi left home and had to run a long distance to reach the talent academy. She met Bohan to retrieve the flyers, but she searched and couldn't find the love letter. He argued that since the letter had already been sent, there was no way to get it back. He sarcastically remarked that the letter was written in a formulaic style, like a template. The writer could simply change the name and send it to someone else immediately. Mingxi hastily explained that she was indeed the one who wrote the love letter, but she wasn't the one who truly liked him. He doubted her words and made her reread the 3rd sentence of the letter before he believed her and returned it. Blushing shyly, she read aloud, "My lips taste like strawberries. Would you like to try some?" Bohan slowly approached, causing Mingxi's heart to race. He leaned close to her ear and whispered that he didn't like the taste of strawberries. Then he returned the love letter to her. On the rooftop of the building opposite, Zijiao saw the scene and thought Mingxi was directly confessing her love to Bohan. She decided to film it and post it on the school forum. She thought Mingxi was a scabby toad, dreaming of eating swan meat. In just 10 minutes, images of Mingxi confessing to Bohan were plastered all over the school. Mingxi secretly ran into the study room to escape the scrutiny, but Bohan found her. He pinned her against the railing and was about to question her about posting love letters everywhere. Just then, the teacher appeared and reminded Bohan to hurry to the auditorium to receive the basketball team's honorary award. But compared to the flashy reward, he wanted a clear explanation from Mingxi. She insisted she hadn't posted the confession. She didn't want to be ostracized by the whole school because of this. Mingxi explained that she had just transferred to the school and only wanted to catch up with her studies. He looked straight into her eyes and assured her that he wouldn't let her be ostracized. In the main hall, during the awards ceremony for the basketball team's high achievement, a large screen on the stage suddenly displayed an image of Mingxi confessing her feelings to Bohan. Seeing Mingxi about to run away, Bohan pulled her onto the stage with him. Mingxi heard her classmates whispering and mocking her, and she couldn't bear it anymore. She proactively spoke up to clarify the situation. She advised her classmates to focus on their studies and stop gossiping behind her back. Bohan unexpectedly snatched the microphone and praised the edited image on the screen as very beautiful. He declared loudly to the whole school that he really hated the taste of strawberries, but from now on, he would start to like it. Then he tightly grasped Mingxi's hand and pulled her off the stage amidst enthusiastic applause and cheers from the students. Mingxi was extremely worried that she wouldn't be able to live here anymore after this incident. Bohan reassured her that even if the sky fell, he would support her. As a result, both of them had to go to the principal's office to face disciplinary action. The principal severely criticized Mingxi for not focusing on her studies. He said that if she only focused on writing love love letters. How could she possibly excel academically? The principal reminded her that the school had made an exception to waive her tuition fees for her transfer out of respect for Mingxi's father. Mingxi bowed her head and promised not to repeat the mistake. She only hoped that this mistake wouldn't affect her important scholarship application. The principal stated that with her current grades, Mingxi wasn't even guaranteed to stay at the school, let alone receive a scholarship. The principal warned that if Mingxi continued to negatively impact other students next semester, she would be forced to return to her old school. Bohan reminded his mother that his academic performance was still second in the entire school. Therefore, the principal couldn't blame Mingxi for affecting his studies. He even criticized his mother for being too authoritarian. He threatened to call his father to school to reprimand her. Bohan's mother was angry and made Mingxi and Bohan remove all the love letters plastered all over the school. Instead of showing annoyance, Bohan seemed quite amused as he reread Mingxi's cheesy love confessions. He wondered why she was allowed into this prestigious school. Mingxi blamed him for causing her to suffer unwarranted punishment. Bohan grabbed a basin of water to remove the love letters, but carelessly wet Mingxi's shirt. Hearing her complain, he took off his jacket and gave it to her to wear. He even offered to tutor her to help improve her current poor grades, but she firmly refused because she didn't like getting into trouble. Before meeting him, she had never been scolded or had false rumors spread about her. She thought his mother had high expectations of him, so it was best for her to keep her distance. He sighed in disappointment and urged her to hurry home before it got too late. As she turned to leave, he reminded her to remember her promise to keep her distance. Sijao waited for Bohan at the school gate and asked him why he wouldn't let go of the past. She agreed to keep her distance and joined the cheerleading squad to watch him from afar, but not to watch him dating another girl. She said they were childhood sweethearts, compatible in both family background and personality. He coldly replied that he had never judged a person by their material possessions or family status. He also apologized for making her fall for him. Sijao declared that she wouldn't forgive Mingxi. Hearing this, Bohan got out of the car, walked up to her, and warned her that if she bullied Mingxi, he wouldn't let her get away with it. The next day, when Mingxi arrived at school, she whispered to Chunian that Bohan was the principal's son. Unexpectedly, Bohan was standing right in front of them. He considered revealing someone else's secret to be a very bad thing. Mingxi quickly apologized to him and tried to return his jacket. He refused to take it back, telling her to throw it away if she didn't need it. From afar, her friends likened Mingxi to a leech clinging to Bohan, refusing to let go. Just then, the school's famous F3 group passed by, causing Chunian's heart to flutter again. She asked Mingxi to write another love letter because she felt she couldn't miss out on the other handsome guys just because she lost Bohan. After that, Bohan continuously avoided Mingxi. He even asked his close friends to remove all the remaining love letters from the school walls. Just as Chunian ran to find Mingxi, she accidentally fell into the arms of a boy named Suji. In that moment, the fan blew a lock of Suji's romantic hair. Chunian knew her heart had found a new owner. Mingxi unexpectedly appeared, interrupting Chunian's thoughts, and brought a basin of water to remove the love letters. She told Bohan to let her handle the rest. He wondered why, after saying she wanted to keep her distance last night, she was now trying to meet him repeatedly. She was speechless with anger and pulled Chunian away. In the large but cold house, devoid of warmth and affection, Bohan found solace in the soothing music. Finally, his mother returned home. She asked if he was using Mingxi to oppose her. She mentioned that many prestigious foreign basketball teams had sent emails inviting Bohan to join. He couldn't abandon 6 years of formal basketball training abroad to bury his talent here. He insisted that he wouldn't go anywhere. He also didn't need his mother to worry about his personal life. During a graceful dance class, Chunian read a post on the school's group chat discussing Mingxi's part-time job. Mingxi paid no attention to the sarcastic remarks because she believed she earned her money honestly through. When Mingxi went to the restroom, the group of female students speculated that her family had spent a lot of money to get her into the school and find a rich husband. However, because Mingxi's academic performance was so poor, the principal issued an ultimatum. Bohan, being clever, quickly dismissed her to avoid trouble. Mingxi emerged from the restroom with a stern expression. She asked who had spread the false rumors about her. Just then, Sijao arrived and reminded the others to go to class. She even pretended to trust Mingxi in front of everyone. Mingxi confronted Bohan and accused him of spreading rumors about her working part-time, which led to the principal threatening to expel her. She asserted that she lived an honest and upright life, earning money for her education instead of living a life of dependence like him. After Mingxi finished speaking, she noticed that his 3 friends behind her were all shirtless. Chunian unexpectedly rushed in and took a picture of this precious moment as a keepsake. Bohan followed Mingxi outside. side. He insisted that he was not the one who spread the baseless rumors. He explained that he had never thought there was a class difference between them, or that he wanted revenge on her for anything. She lowered her voice and apologized if she had wrongly accused him. She also explained that the reason she wanted to keep her distance was because she didn't want him to argue with his mother over him. He asked why she had to explain that to him. He sincerely said that he didn't want to lose another friend. Mingxi was the second friend he had made at this school, so he hoped they could remain good friends. At this moment, Xijiao stepped onto the stage to perform piano at the school's grand music festival. She recalled how she used to play for Bohan when she was little, but because of Mingxi's appearance, he had changed. He even made her take down all the pictures of Mingxi working part-time. Xijiao finished her piece with a heavy heart. Afterwards, she drowned her sorrows in alcohol. She sat waiting for Bohan's familiar figure. She asked why he hadn't come to listen to her play. Upon arriving home, she asked him how much longer he intended to punish her. She believed they couldn't go back to how things used to be because of the appearance of a third party, Mingxi. Just then, Zhang Wen arrived to pick Xijiao up. He showered her with love and patience, wholeheartedly caring for her. In her drunken state, she unexpectedly grabbed Zhang Wen's hand, mistaking him for Bohan. Shortly afterward, Bohan's mother told him about Xijiao's mother complaining about Xijiao's tearful reaction to Bohan not attending the concert. She reminded him that Xijiao's mother had her eye on Mingxi and would surely make things difficult for her. Bohan declared emphatically that no one should dare touch Mingxi because he genuinely liked her. Bohan waited for Mingxi outside the school gate that morning. He asked who had sent him the love letter. Chunian cleverly made up an excuse about not having done her homework and asked to leave for class, leaving them alone. Bohan said he would retract his promise to be friends with Mingxi because he no longer wanted to be just friends with her. She quickly covered his mouth. Too embarrassed, she ran away. Just then, his mother called, asking what he intended to do with Mingxi. She threatened that if he continued his reckless behavior, she would expel Mingxi from school immediately. Bohan also declared that his mother had no right to interfere with his genuine feelings for Mingxi. At this time, Zhenwen came to take Xijiao to school, but her mother punished her by making her stay home to think about her actions. He patiently endured her unwarranted anger and waited until she was hungry. She heard her mother say that she had been drunk and screaming like a mad woman at Bohan's house the night before, so she was very ashamed. Zhenwen pretended not to remember anything. He lied, saying that he only ever saw Xijiao as beautiful in his eyes. At the end of the school day, Bohan followed Mingxi around. He stalked her all the way to the convenience store. He even teased her for being timid, like a turtle hiding in its shell. When she heard the words, "I like you," she immediately hid under the table out of embarrassment. Bohan asked the shop owner to be a witness. He asked Mingxi if she liked him. He even thoughtfully placed his hand on the edge of the table to prevent her from hitting her head when she stood up. When the staff requested an hour off for lunch, the owner happily approved it. He even wished them a pleasant date. At the restaurant, Mingxi tried to appear strong, saying that her heart was made of stone and she wouldn't easily fall for someone. Bohan criticized Mingxi for ordering only unhealthy snacks, but when he tasted them, he found the pie flavors weren't bad. He wondered why she had to transfer schools. Mingxi explained that her father used to be a swimming coach at a gifted academy. The school had awarded her father a good deed award, which is why they waived her tuition. However, the school still required her to pay for various events, so she had to work part-time to ease her mother's financial burden. Bohan returned to the convenience store and bought a lot of snacks to support her sales. He pressed her against the refrigerator and reached for a can of soda, leaving her disappointed. She thought he was going to do something romantic. He paid the bill and left all the food for her, only taking a small strawberry lollipop. The owner looked at the pile of food and saw only the overflowing love of the young man. On her way home, crossing the bridge, Mingxi encountered Bohan arguing with Zheng Wen's group. He lied to her, saying he was reminiscing with an old friend and urged her to go home first. Seeing that they weren't arguing loudly, she felt reassured and went ahead. But even after arriving home, she felt uneasy. She feared Bohan had been beaten badly. She went back to the bridge, but only found his phone and cigarette pack lying there. The next day, Mingxi went to class but didn't see Bohan. She went to the gym to look for him, but he wasn't there either. She asked Xiaoyan to help her return Bohan's phone, but the guy didn't dare touch the boss's phone. Xiaoyan had no choice but to add Bohan on WeChat and send him Bohan's address so Mingxi could come herself. When Mingxi arrived at the convenience store to work, she waited anxiously for Bohan's arrival, but he didn't show up. Just then, the owner was watching the news, and a group of young men with baseball bats beat a student, sending him to the hospital in critical condition. She was so worried that she immediately went to Bohan's house. But at home, Bohan was in pain from his injured arm and couldn't even reach for a glass of water. It turned out he had accepted Zheng Wen's gang, beating him up because he had decided not to see Si Jiao anymore. Hearing the doorbell ring, Bohan was extremely surprised to see Mingxi at his house. He quickly covered the wound on his arm. He even jokingly asked if she came to check on him. She returned his phone and excused herself to leave. Just then, she met Zheng Wen, bringing Si Jiao to visit. She went to Bohan's house to avoid a confrontation. Si Jiao banged loudly on the gate and apologized to Bohan on behalf of Zheng Wen for what happened the day before. He coldly asked her to leave because he was busy entertaining important guests. When Bohan went inside, he told Mingxi to wait until they were far away before going home. She returned the cigarette pack he had found to Bohan. Unexpectedly, it was just an ordinary bottle of eye drops. Mingxi wondered why Zheng Wen and his group always targeted Bohan. Just then, the principal returned from work and Mingxi frantically searched for a hiding place. In her confusion, she knocked over a glass of water all over Bohan. Bohan's mother saw the strawberry milk on the table and asked him when he had developed a liking for strawberries. Bohan gave Mingxi a meaningful look as she hid. He said that he currently really liked strawberries. Then, he secretly pulled her into his private room. He slowly approached her to turn on the light. He changed out of his dirty shirt and said he would find a way for her to escape safely. However, she had to agree to the condition that from now on, she would no longer avoid him. Seeing her nod in agreement, he told her to count to 60 and then quickly ran outside. But during dinner, Bohan's mother asked him if he was still going to defy her. He claimed he was mature and capable of taking responsibility for his own future. As expected, Bohan's words angered his mother. She stormed off to her room and slammed the door shut. Immediately afterward, Bohan called Mingxi downstairs and secretly escorted her out safely. At this moment, Suji caught Chunian secretly following him. Seeing the book on rehabilitation in his hand, she guessed he was injured. He quickly covered her mouth and asked why she kept following him. He unexpectedly leaned closer and asked about the rumor that she had written love letters to many members of the soccer team. Chunian honestly confessed that the feeling of being rejected by the person she liked was very unpleasant, so she divided her feelings into many parts to lessen the pain. She admitted she lacked the confidence to make others like her, so she didn't dare hope for reciprocation. Mingxi met Bohan on her way to school early in the morning. He had prepared breakfast for her. He playfully chided her for running dozens of kilometers on an empty stomach, which caused her to faint from hypoglycemia. He gently told her she had worked hard. He offered her his bike and proactively took her hand, wrapping it tightly around his waist. He smiled and rode her along the familiar road in the morning sunlight. He was like a refreshing breeze blowing into her life, which was full of pressure and worries. The calm and composed demeanor he exuded made her suddenly long for a strong shoulder to lean on. Bohan and Mingxi arrived at school. She thanked him, but unexpectedly, her school bag strap got caught on the back of his bike. The strap caused a series of bicycles nearby to fall to the ground simultaneously like a domino effect. Mingxi heard the bells signaling the start of class, quickly apologized and hurried into her classroom. From above, Bohan's mother looked down and saw that Mingxi was still as close to her son as ever. The principal looked displeased. Mingxi went into the classroom and was horrified to discover she had forgotten her English report. The principal called her to her office and complained that her English grade was low and that she had been lazy in not completing the report. Mingxi insisted that she had completed all the assignments, but she couldn't find them in her bag. The principal reminded Mingxi to submit the report quickly. In addition, she punished Mingxi by making her go down to the mall playground and rearrange all the overturned bicycles. It turned out that Si Jiao had secretly stolen Mingxi's report. She wanted Mingxi to disappear from her world forever. Finally, Mingxi painstakingly rearranged the bicycles in the pouring rain. Unexpectedly, Si Jiao came and knocked them over again. She also forbade Mingxi from using despicable tactics to flirt with Bohan. Bohan, suddenly standing behind her, reminded Si Jiao not to be so unreasonable. Mingxi angrily told the two of them to settle their personal grievances between themselves. She told them not to drag someone as busy as her into this conflict. Bohan met with Si Jiao privately and asked her what she really wanted. Si Jiao said she would apologize to Bohan until he forgave her and stopped ignoring her. Bohan thoughtfully said he hadn't ignored her at all. He just didn't know how to face his old friend. But if she needed a valid reason, then he could just pretend he still hadn't forgotten the past. Under the pouring rain, Mingxi silently set up the overturned bicycles alone. Just then, she received a call from her mother, informing her that she would be home a week later than expected. Her mother kindly reminded her to try to get along with her friends. Her mother promised to send the rent money at the end of the week. Mingxi quickly tried to dissuade her mother from transferring the money because she planned to use her scholarship money to pay for rent herself. As soon as the call ended, two friends friends passing by made a sarcastic remark. They argued that someone of Mingxi's caliber shouldn't even dare to aspire to study at the prestigious Academy of Talents. Before those words could fade away in the rain, the heavy bicycle suddenly tipped over onto Mingxi's leg, causing her excruciating pain. The physical pain, mixed with a feeling of self-pity, reminded her of the warm love of her deceased father. In that moment of weakness, she silently wept. She truly wanted to sigh, realizing how lonely her father's daughter was. Just when Mingxi felt coldest and most desperate, Bohan unexpectedly appeared like a warm ray of sunshine to comfort her. He gently stroked her hair, wet with rainwater and tears. He kindly offered to take her home. At this point, she was too weak and tired. She obediently nestled into his strong and safe embrace. In the taxi, he thoughtfully offered her a dry towel to wipe herself. She shyly apologized for getting the car and his clothes wet. He took her cold hand and assured her that he was more worried about her catching a cold than about the car. He realized that lately he had been the one causing her trouble. Hearing this, she immediately made him take responsibility. Playfully, she insisted he get wet with her. He didn't hesitate to take off his outer jacket. He gently and meticulously dried each strand of her hair, which was soaked with rainwater. She reciprocated his care with a radiant smile. Her smile was like a healing balm for all his unpleasant feelings. Back at the boarding house, Mingxi rummaged through her belongings to borrow some of her father's old, oversized clothes for Bohan. Seeing him about to change in the living room, she quickly blushed and reminded him that the bathroom was in the next room. After settling down, she told him that if he really wanted to make up for the trouble he had caused, he should teach her English. He happily agreed. He declared that starting tomorrow, he would officially become her private tutor. The next morning, in the garden by the pool, Mingxi diligently did her English homework under Bohan's supervision. He came to check on her and jokingly called her a goldfish brain because she had completely forgotten the formula she had just learned that morning. He patiently sat down beside her and explained it again until she understood. From then on, every beautiful morning, Bohan regularly picked Mingxi up for school. He gave her English homework to practice. He also frequently bought her favorite strawberry milk and quietly left it for her to drink. He always appeared at the right moment, like a guardian angel, whenever she needed a comforting embrace the most. To reward her efforts, he took her to a delicious meal at a luxurious Western-style restaurant. He gazed absent-mindedly at her delicate face in the soft, flickering candlelight. He thoughtfully offered her his favorite crispy appetizer bread. When the main course arrived, he realized she wasn't used to using a knife and fork, so he thoughtfully cut the meat into small pieces for her. Hearing her invite him to taste her portion, he involuntarily remembered the sweet strawberry flavor mentioned in her love letter the other day. He smiled and complimented her writing style, saying it was quite good. That style had almost melted his hardened heart. He deliberately distracted her by looking out the window, then suddenly leaned closer to her face, making her flustered. Under the romantic candlelight, she confessed that this was the first time she had ever eaten such a delicious meal. She thought for a moment and then suggested that if she scored high on her English exam, he would have repaid his debt of gratitude. He smiled meaningfully. He asked what if he didn't want to repay the debt. He reminded her that she actually owed him many other things. On the way home, Mingxi sincerely thanked Bohan for his generous dinner. She thanked him for his dedicated guidance throughout the past period. In the cozy atmosphere of the restaurant, he unexpectedly reached out and grabbed the chubby face of the little girl opposite him. He sternly insisted that she address him respectfully as Teacher John. She reluctantly obeyed, but then changed her attitude. She turned to tease him back. Meanwhile, Shijao was lost in happy memories of the distant past. She recalled how close she used to be with the Jiang brothers. On a memorable birthday, Shijao had playfully told them to close their eyes and then secretly planted a kiss on the cheek of the one she secretly admired. Shijao secretly wished that time could forever stop that innocent and pure moment of happiness. When they arrived at the convenience store where Mingxi worked, Bohan gave her a carefully prepared study guide for her exams. He sought justice for his efforts by affectionately stroking her head. Unexpectedly, this intimate moment was secretly captured by Zhenwen. He was incredibly malicious, deliberately omitting Bohan's face from the photo in order to falsely accuse Mingxi of having an affair with an older wealthy man. Sure enough, the very next day, the school forum exploded with malicious rumors that Mingxi was being financially supported by a major shareholder in the school. Xijiao's mother seized this golden opportunity to demand that the school expel Mingxi immediately. The principal argued that the school couldn't suspend a student based on a few blurry, unsubstantiated photos. Xijiao's mother then threatened that if the principal continued to defend Mingxi, she would reveal Bohan's fight with the thugs the previous day. When Mingxi went to the office, the principal asked who the man in the car was. Mingxi Mingxi firmly asserted that she didn't live off others, but she absolutely refused to reveal that the person in the car was Bohan. Because she wanted to protect his honor, the principal decided to suspend Mingxi for a week to cooperate with the investigation. Mingxi was extremely worried that if she didn't take the midterm exam, she would lose her precious scholarship. Just then, Bohan unexpectedly burst into the room and boldly declared that he was the mysterious man in the car. He explained that he was tutoring her, which is why he came to deliver her homework. At that time, he turned to his mother and criticized her for not caring about her students' difficult circumstances and for hastily and unfairly suspending Mingxi. Bohan's mother said she couldn't decide everything on her own and had to explain to the strict school board. Furthermore, she reminded Bohan that he should focus on preparing for his studies abroad instead of spending all his time with a girl like that. Bohan then asked his mother if she didn't know the real reason why he refused to go abroad. But when Bohan stood on the basketball court afterward, he remembered his first meeting with Mingxi. She used to have beautiful long hair, but she insisted on cutting it very short. He was astonished to learn that a small girl had to sell her hair to make ends meet. She even tried to win a scholarship so her mother wouldn't have to send her living expenses anymore. Such a heartbreakingly understanding girl left a lasting impression on him. Returning home in the pouring rain, Mingxi was unexpectedly approached by a stranger who put his arm around her shoulder. Knowing he was being chased, she remained silent, waiting for the thugs to pass. Unexpectedly, fate brought her back together with her childhood sweetheart, Du Jingqiu. Bohan suddenly appeared, shielding Mingxi with an umbrella. He scolded her for speaking so casually to a stranger. Jingqiu introduced himself as Mingxi's childhood friend, recounting how they used to bathe together when they were children. Seeing Bohan's umbrella was a bit too small, he pulled Mingxi along with him. Bohan refused to give up. He had just grabbed an umbrella for her and was also fighting with a stranger over Mingxi. They struggled for a while until the rain completely stopped. Jingqiu put his arm around Mingxi's shoulder and expressed his desire to visit her home. Coincidentally, they encountered Zhenwen's gang blocking the road and causing trouble. Bohan told Jingqiu to take Mingxi ahead for safety. Seeing the thugs targeting Mingxi, Jingqiu immediately took off his backpack and charged in, fighting fiercely. Bohan also grabbed an umbrella and rushed to help Jingqiu. After taking down all of Zhenwen's henchmen, the three of them quickly ran back to Mingxi's house. She returned Bohan's uniform from the previous day and then scolded Jingqiu, calling him shameless. He calmly replied that he still remembered bathing with her every day when they were children. Just then, Mingxi's mother came home from work. She was surprised to see two burly young men standing in her house. Mingxi introduced them as her schoolmates, so her mother warmly invited them to stay for a drink. Bohan's mother wondered why she came home from school so early today. Bohan cleverly explained that the school had finished an event, so they had let the students leave earlier than usual. Jingqiu quickly ran into the kitchen to help Mingxi's mother peel fruit. Meanwhile, Bohan's mother called, urging him to come home urgently. Bohan told Jingqiu to stay and talk to Mingxi's mother while she saw him off. As they walked down the stairs, Bohan suddenly stopped, causing Mingxi to bump into his sturdy back. He said she didn't know how to comfort people, but if she was upset about being suspended, she could bite his to vent her anger. Seeing Mingxi's radiant smile, Bohan felt relieved. He asked her and Jingqiu what their relationship was. She explained that she had grown up with Jingqiu and always considered him like a younger brother. Bohan told Mingxi to tell Jingqiu to come home early and promised to smoothly resolve the suspension issue for her. Inside the house, Jingqiu apologized to Mingxi's mother for staying at Mingxi's house without giving her prior notice. Mingxi's mother remembered how close her husband and Jingqiu's father used to be, like brothers. Since Jingqiu had recently been accepted into a sports university, she agreed to let him stay there temporarily. She thought that when she was away, there would be a man in the house to look after and protect Mingxi. The next morning, Jingqiu saw Mingxi getting ready for her jogging workout. He intended to wait for her to come home for lunch, but she said bread would suffice. However, noticed that the bread in the basket was all nearing its expiration date. When Jingqiu went to the wonton shop, he still vividly remembered Mingxi's childhood eating habits. He thought that someone who couldn't bear to throw away a toy from when she was 2 years old would never change her familiar tastes. Jingqiu asked Mingxi if she was doing well. Watching her eat a wonton so hot it burned her tongue, yet still trying to swallow it to avoid wasting it, he felt a pang of sadness. At the hospital, Chunian unexpectedly encountered Suji coming out of the orthopedic department looking pained. He confessed to her that he had suffered a serious torn meniscus in his knee. He asked her to keep it a secret secret, as he didn't want his teammates to worry. Since Bohan was suspended, the team couldn't afford to be without another key player. Chunhyun trusted Suji to overcome this difficult challenge. He lay down on the grass to sunbathe, thoughtfully using his arm as a pillow for her to rest. At the boxing gym, Sijiao reproached Jungwen for hiding the fact that Bohan was the man in the car from him. He held her hand tightly, saying that if they wanted to get rid of Mingxi, they had to get rid of Bohan first. Sijiao saw Jungwen become fierce for the first time, and his strong, masculine aura almost suffocated her. When Bohan met Sijiao privately, he asked her to persuade his mother to drop the unfair punishment for Mingxi. Sijiao agreed to help him on the condition that he would go on a date with her and give her flowers at her upcoming performance. He reluctantly agreed. However, he stipulated that this would only be for a single day. 4 days later, Bohan followed Sijiao to school like a shadow. He even attended lectures with her. His friends teased him, asking when they started dating. The teacher noticed Bohan was distracted, so she called him to stand up and solve a difficult problem on the board. Being the top student in the school, he could answer correctly just by glancing at the question. At the concert, Bohan kept his promise to bring flowers for Sijiao. She took the opportunity to hug him on stage, causing the entire auditorium to erupt in admiration. Chunhyun quickly took a picture of the scene and sent it to Mingxi, advising her to stay away from Bohan. Jingchu, sitting next to them, saw the photo and confidently asserted that they were deeply in love. Jingchu revealed that he had previously hit Bohan's car, but Bohan arrogantly refused to apologize. Jingchu chased after him and saw how close Bohan was to the girl in the photo. After the concert ended, Sijiao wanted to make the most of her last date with Bohan. She wished time would slow down, so the pumpkin carriage would arrive a little later than scheduled. Just then, they encountered Mingxi jogging with Jingchu on the street. Bohan hastily hid the bouquet behind his back, like a child who had done something wrong. Jingchu put his arm around Mingxi's shoulder and politely asked not to disturb their romantic date. Seeing Bohan's worried expression, Sijiao guessed he would surely leave to find Mingxi. She secretly admired the girl who had such genuine love from him. Bohan dropped Sijiao off at her doorstep and ended their brief encounter. Sijiao declared that she no longer liked Bohan. She felt he wasn't worthy of her, so she accepted being just friends. She returned his coat, hoping he would do her the honor of attending the last dance she was organizing. When Mingxi arrived at the grocery store, the kind owner gave her a large bag of bread. Jingchu discovered that all the items were nearing their expiration date. He wondered if her father had left behind a lot of debt. He guessed that her father's heavy investment losses were due to his own father. Mingxi believed that her father wanted her to attend the Academy of Talented Students, which is why he was so eager to borrow money for risky investments. She asserted that she and her mother would pay off the debt themselves, and that she didn't need Jingchu to worry. She asked him in return what about his life. She assured him that she would pay off all her debts this year. Bohan waited for Mingxi to arrive home, and then saw her go inside with Jingchu. He called repeatedly, but she didn't answer. Jingchu went to pull back the curtains and saw Bohan still persistently waiting outside the door, refusing to leave. Mingxi received a text message from Bohan asking to meet, and she became restless inside the house. She texted him to refuse, but he kept calling. Jingchu couldn't sleep. Mingxi was afraid of disturbing the neighbors, so she reluctantly went to meet Bohan. He asked why she wasn't answering the phone. He asked why Jingchu was there at this hour. She advised him to go home, give flowers, and hug his childhood sweetheart instead. Bohan smiled and asked Mingxi to explain clearly why she was living with Jingchu. She said the two families were close, so her mother let him stay for a short time. Just then, the principal called and announced the good news that Mingxi could return to school. She was overjoyed because she could participate in the scholarship exam. Bohan pulled Mingxi closer and reminded her to keep quiet so as not to wake the neighbors. He patted her head and congratulated her on her wish coming true. Chunhyun went to watch Suji practice soccer and saw that he was in terrible pain in his leg. She urged him to go for physiotherapy, but he made excuses to refuse. When he saw her threatening to call Bohan, he quickly covered her mouth. The moment Chunhyun clearly felt the warmth of Suji's hand, her heart suddenly fluttered. He reluctantly agreed to go for proper treatment so she could keep his secret. As the official exams began, Mingxi worked hard to win the scholarship. Bohan took his exam, but his eyes were always fixed on the girl he loved. Finally, Mingxi made it into the top 50 in the entire school. Her name was on the list of recipients of a prestigious scholarship. Bohan arrived and pulled Mingxi up to the rooftop to celebrate her victory. She felt very satisfied because she had finally paid off her rent and bought a new pair of running shoes. She sincerely thanked Bohan. Bohan accepted her thanks, but said he would keep it a secret and would collect the interest later. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Mingxi quickly pulled Bohan to see the wonder. He admitted the shooting star was beautiful, but it wasn't as brilliant as the face of the girl he was looking at. Mingxi asked if they still had to keep their distance. She shyly tried to escape from Bohan's warm embrace. He pointed to the sky, and she shouted, "Mingxi, there's another shooting star." But that was just a clever distraction. It gave Bohan the opportunity to lightly kiss the cheek of the girl he liked. At this time, Zijiao was still lost in her romantic fantasies, and she posted a photo of herself with Bohan on social media to show off. This led Mingxi to mistakenly believe that Bohan had kissed her that morning but was going on a date with someone else that evening. When Jingchu dropped Mingxi off at school, he kindly helped her take off her helmet. Bohan quickly cycled over and questioned why Mingxi was going to school with Jingchu. She ignored him and even arranged for Jingchu to pick her up in the afternoon. She confided in her best friend, saying she felt her emotional state was terrible. Just then, Bohan passed by the soccer field and offered to take her home later. She flatly refused and didn't even look at him once. Bohan waited until Mingxi's class ended and asked her why she kept avoiding him. Mingxi made up an excuse about having lunch with Chunian and left early. At that moment, the principal came to talk to Mingxi privately. The principal asked if Mingxi's reluctance to learn to swim was due to her trauma from her father's death. The principal lent Mingxi the swimming pool membership card and hoped she would overcome this psychological barrier, as the sport was her father's pride and also a necessary survival skill for her. Bohan went outside the school gate. He was very jealous when he saw Mingxi happily getting on Jingchu's motorbike. Midway through the journey, the motorbike suddenly broke down. Jingchu deliberately accelerated, causing Mingxi to cling tightly to him in fear. Feeling a little tense, he used his feet to kickstart the broken motorbike. He struggled to get her home. The next day after school, Mingxi continued to avoid Bohan. Chunian guessed she had really fallen for Bohan, which was why she cared so much about his dating life. Mingxi asked Jingchu to meet her at the swimming pool. She wanted to try going into the water once to overcome her fear. He set a condition: she had to call him brother if he could help her overcome her fear. Bohan, outside, heard Mingxi and Jingchu playing together. Meanwhile, she didn't bother to reply to his messages. He rushed in to catch them red-handed. He asked them what they were secretly doing at the pool. Jingchu put his arm around Mingxi's shoulder and declared they were in the dating phase. Bohan tried to suppress his anger and asked why Mingxi hadn't replied to his messages. She said she didn't want Zijiao to misunderstand their relationship. She snapped at him, saying that he hadn't resolved his feelings for Zijiao yet, so why was he trying to get to know her? Bohan tried to explain, but Jingchu started the argument. During their struggle, they accidentally pushed Mingxi into the deep water. Both of them frantically jumped in to save her, but Bohan was faster and managed to rescue her safely. Bohan went home and tossed and turned, thinking, until the next morning. He remembered at the swimming pool, Jingchu had mocked him, saying he always claimed to like Mingxi, but he didn't understand her at all. He didn't even know she was afraid of water, so he wasn't qualified to say, "I like you." Bohan went to Mingxi's house and asked Jingchu why she was so afraid of water. If Jingchu didn't tell him, he would barge into Mingxi's room to ask. Jingchu finally told him that her father had drowned while saving someone years ago. Bohan tricked Jingchu into opening the straw door so he could claim the comfortable spot on the living room sofa. Helplessly, Jingchu had no choice but to sleep huddled up at the end of the sofa, looking utterly miserable. The next morning, when Mingxi woke up, she found the two boys sleeping soundly in each other's arms like lovers. She quickly snapped a picture of this rare moment of intimacy before waking them up. Jingchu sarcastically remarked that Bohan didn't know Mingxi hated herbs. Feeling good, she invited them both out. Mingxi went to an amusement park and happily played with her friends in the warm, gentle sunshine. She captured beautiful moments with Bohan. Initially, the two boys dismissed the carousel as childish, only admiring Mingxi's cuteness from the sidelines, but eventually, they couldn't resist and jumped on the carousel to play with her like children. Seeing the way Mingxi looked at Bohan, Jingchu knew he had no chance of getting between them anymore. While they were sheltering from the sudden rain, Mingxi worried they wouldn't make it to the movie theater on time. Bohan put a hat on Mingxi and then pulled her along. Running ahead, Jingchu followed behind. The three of them happily enjoyed a rain shower together. They savored the passion and freedom inherent in their vibrant youth. When they reached the freestyle swimming pool, Bohan and Jingchu competed to see who could hold their breath underwater. They jumped in, vying to see who could stay underwater longer. Suddenly, Jingchu got a cramp and surfaced first, but he looked around and couldn't find Bohan anywhere. Mingxi was terrified, remembering the moment her father passed away. Without waiting for rescue, she grabbed a life vest and jumped in to find Bohan. Finally, Bohan surfaced, still frightened. Mingxi clung tightly to him, but in the changing room, Jingchu admitted he had lost to Bohan. He told his friend to take good care of Mingxi, otherwise he would steal steal her back at any time. But he also reminded Bohan that first loves rarely have a happy ending. Bohan had a private conversation with Mingxi. He asked her if she was very worried about him. She thought she had been too impulsive at the time, but when she jumped in, she realized the water wasn't as scary as she imagined. She remembered that before her father completely sank into the deep water, he tried to surface to look at her one last time. At that moment, she could only stand still, motionless. She witnessed her father's death in despair. Bohan believed that Mingxi's father was still with her, just existing in a different form. Bohan asked Mingxi if she wanted to hear his sad story. He told her he had a younger brother named Boyang. Boyang loved composing music. Boyang even secretly slipped an invitation into Bohan's favorite book, asking him to come and read it. Their mother was always proud of Bohan, so she always reminded Boyang to strive to be number one like him, because in her eyes, Boyang's artistic talent couldn't compare to Bohan's top ranking in the whole school. He couldn't keep up with his studies, so he always thought of himself as stupid and incompetent. One day he questioned his mother about why she wouldn't let his older brother attend his important concert. His brother hadn't invited her because she looked down on his music. She didn't realize her mistake and even reminded Boyang not to affect Bohan's application to a prestigious foreign school. Boyang cried out in pain, saying, "I'm your son. Why am I not even a fraction as good as my brother?" He ran out of the house in anguish, but his mother wouldn't let Bohan chase after him. She told him to focus on his physical fitness test the next day, thinking that letting Boyang calm down would solve everything. However, Bohan's cold, dismissive turn back into the house. That day meant losing his younger brother forever. Mingxi stood before the vast, wave-filled lake and shouted to herself to encourage herself. She believed Bohan was always the best brother in the world. Bohan acknowledged Mingxi's kindness, but he still couldn't help but praise himself for being better than her. Bohan went to the swimming pool and decided to personally teach Mingxi how to swim. He encouraged her to get in the water, but she unexpectedly attacked him, splashing water in his face. Before they could even study seriously, they were so engrossed in playing together that they lost track of time. Finally, Mingxi agreed to go into the water, but she held Bohan's hand tightly out of fear. If he let go even slightly, she would immediately sink. Bohan was afraid Mingxi would be angry, so he promised he would never let go of her hand again. He patiently guided her to get used to the water. He slowly led her around the large swimming pool. On the way back, Bohan asked how Mingxi would repay him if she got a good swimming score. She agreed to fulfill one of his wishes. She even advised him not to miss this rare opportunity. He gazed at her face and said he needed more time to think it over carefully. After finishing her strawberry milk, she snatched the half-empty bottle from his hand to drink more. He watched triumphantly as she unhesitatingly kissed him indirectly through the milk bottle. He arrived at his front door and promised to invite her to be his dance partner at the upcoming masquerade ball. He didn't expect her to nod in agreement immediately. This made him extremely happy. Sijao waited for Bohan to come home. She was eager to choose a ball gown for him to wear. He apologized for having already invited someone else to be his dance partner. She reproached him for changing partners without informing her. Bohan remembered that every year, Sijao never asked his opinion, assuming he was her dance partner out of habit. She believed that partnering with him was the only way to achieve the highest title at this prestigious ball. She criticized Mingxi for being unsophisticated and unsuitable for dancing. She even said Mingxi couldn't keep up with the rhythm and would surely embarrass Bohan in front of the crowd, but he insisted he'd rather sit below the stage with Mingxi than dance with someone else. Sijao went home and vented her anger on the poor, magnificent ball gown. Zhengwen tried to stop her, but she insisted she wouldn't let Bohan and Mingxi be happy. Bohan wanted to prepare for the ball, so he used every rare free moment to teach Mingxi how to dance. She wondered who his dance partner was before she arrived. He didn't dare tell her the truth for fear of upsetting her. She assured him that from now on, she would trust him completely and unconditionally. After hours of strenuous practice, they would enjoy the sweet taste of strawberries together. Chunian went to the basketball team's party and encountered Suji. Seeing Shuhao about to pour a drink, Chunian reminded Suji that he was taking anti-inflammatory medication and therefore had to abstain from alcohol. She decisively toasted Shuhao on his behalf. Xiaoyan congratulated the two of them on joining the United basketball team. Chunian, feigning thirst, drank continuously on behalf of Suji. He felt deeply moved. laughed. He never expected her to be so brave in protecting him. But on the way home, Suji told Chunian not to drink alcohol in his absence. He was afraid that if others saw her adorable side, they wouldn't be able to resist falling for her. He thanked her for taking him to therapy. She thanked him for always caring about her. She asked him if he would be her dance partner. He replied that he truly wanted to be her dance partner. He could refuse anyone in the world except her. Chunian was so drunk that she snuggled tightly into Suji's arms, trusting him completely. Meanwhile, Jingchu secretly watched Mingxi practicing dance alone at night. He wanted to buy her the most beautiful pair of dance shoes, but the price was too high for his budget, so he took on extra work at a boxing gym. He asked the owner for a month's salary advance. The owner agreed, but on the condition that he continue sparring with a more skilled opponent. Jingchu dragged his weary body onto the stage. He endured a painful beating until he collapsed to the ground. Finally, he had enough money to order the dream shoes for Mingxi. After Mingxi finished her gorgeous evening gown, she received the sparkling shoes from her best friend. She prepared meticulously and waited for Bohan to pick her up. Unexpectedly, halfway there on his bicycle, he was brutally attacked by Zhengwen's henchmen. At this moment, Suji, elegantly dressed and holding flowers, waited for Chunian. She appeared resplendent, like the most beautiful princess in his life. Meanwhile, Zhengwen arrived to pick up Zijiao. He had given her many deep red roses. Fearing she might dislike the flowers that withered quickly, he thoughtfully prepared an everlasting, immortal rose. Late at night, Mingxi still couldn't contact Bohan. Seeing this, Jingchu lied, saying Bohan was busy and would be late. Jingchu would take her to the ball first. Jingchu only dared to take Mingxi to the entrance of the ballroom, then silently watched her back from afar with a melancholic gaze. When Zijiao heard her mean friends mocking Mingxi's outfit, she immediately told them to shut up. However, Zijiao felt that Mingxi's appearance still lacked something to be perfect. She took off her pearl necklace and gave it to Mingxi. She told Mingxi not to embarrass Bohan's former dance. That person was Zijiao. Chunian met Mingxi inside and complimented her shoes, saying how beautiful and luxurious they were. Mingxi wondered if Chunian was the one who had given them to her. Chunian quickly denied it, knowing she couldn't afford such expensive and luxurious shoes. Just then, Shu Hao stepped onto the stage to open the ball. Suji also walked straight towards Chunian. He politely invited her to an opening dance. Mingxi felt incredibly disappointed because she still hadn't seen Bohan. As the melodious music began to play, Mingxi remembered Zijiao's subtle reminder. She felt inferior, thinking that she didn't belong in this glamorous and luxurious place. Just as Mingxi turned to leave, Bohan unexpectedly ran up with a still bleeding wound on his face. He quickly apologized for being late. Then he took her hand and led her into the center of the ballroom. As the melodious music began to play, he bowed and respectfully invited her to dance. Under the soft yellow lights, he gently placed his hand on her waist. He led her into a sweet and romantic dance. Amidst the room filled with music and the admiring gazes of the crowd, the whole world seemed to vanish. Only the two of them remained, silently twirling on the dance floor. The dazzling crystal lights shone on her jet black hair. The light reflected in his eyes was an undeniable adoration. Yet few knew that this perfect and blissful dance was bought at the silent and painful sacrifice of another person. Jingchu, Zijiao, wanting to reclaim the spotlight, unexpectedly kissed Zhengwen passionately on stage. Seeing this, her mischievous friends ganged up and pushed Mingxi forward. They sarcastically asked if she dared to compete with Zijiao. Mingxi decided to cast aside all her insecurities. She asked Bohan to hold her shoes so she could move more easily. She let herself be carried away by the lively music. Her enthusiasm excited everyone, who rushed up to join in the fun. But on the way home, Mingxi still remembered Zijiao's bold and explosive kiss with Zhengwen earlier. Bohan wondered if she admired them. She shook her head, saying she wasn't jealous because tonight she had been crowned queen, and Bohan was the king of the ball. Hearing this, he gently pinched her cheek, annoyed that she kept calling his name like that. Seeing Mingxi dare to bite his hand, Bohan slowly cornered her against the door. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, "You're getting bolder and bolder." Mingxi complained of a headache to avoid him. Bohan declared that he would take responsibility for her. He slowly moved closer, intending to plant a kiss on her sweet, strawberry-flavored lips. Just then, Jingchu arrived home, unintentionally shattering the romantic atmosphere. Mingxi turned to Jingchu and asked where he got so much money to buy her such expensive shoes. He quickly denied it, then subtly signaled to Bohan to pretend to be the giver. Bohan waited until she went inside before sternly asking Jingchu where he got such a large sum of money. Jingchu didn't answer directly, only instructing Bohan to take good care of Mingxi for him. Early the next morning, a gang of aggressive debt collectors stormed into Mingxi's house and vandalized it. She remembered she had already paid off the principal and only owed the interest. This month, the ringleader decided to confiscate her new shoes to settle the debt. He gave her another week to collect collect the interest. She panicked and chased after them to get her shoes back. But unfortunately, she tripped and fell painfully. Seeing this, Jingchu rushed to her aid and carried her home. He gently cleaned the scratches on her feet and tried everything to cheer her up. Bohan waited for Jingchu outside. He silently watched his friend with a thoughtful and worried look in his eyes. When Bohan saw Jingchu being brutally beaten in the underground boxing ring, he couldn't control himself and rushed to intervene. Jingchu's opponent said he had paid for training and could fight however he wanted. Bohan was determined not to let Jingchu earn money through this life-threatening work. He knew Mingxi would be very upset if she found out. He rolled up his sleeves and decided to take the painful blows for Jingchu. After the match ended, the two sat down to talk. Bohan asked Jingchu how much he earned each night. Jingchu said his wages were calculated by the hour. He said he only got a bonus if he was lucky enough to win a round. He sadly recounted how his father had made a profit from investments years ago and invited Mingxi's family to join him in business. In the end, both families were cheated out of all their money. His father had to sell his house to pay off debts and then disappeared. His mother remarried and had another child. Since then, they have completely cut off contact. Besides Mingxi and her mother, he had no other relatives in the world. Bohan guessed that Jingchu was boxing to help Mingxi pay off her debts. Therefore, Bohan sincerely advised Jingchu to quit this job and let him handle the money. When Mingxi arrived home, she was shocked to see her two friends both bruised. She made Jingchu take off his dirty shirt so she could wash it. Bohan noticed the injury on Mingxi's leg, but she lied, saying it was from an accidental fall. Bohan watched attentively as Mingxi cared for Jingchu. He noticed they wore identical slippers and used identical drinking cups. Bohan remembered Jingchu saying he didn't belong in Mingxi's world. But when he saw Jingchu's obvious presence and connection in Mingxi's daily life, he deeply understood that statement. Bohan felt disappointed and quietly left. When Bohan arrived at his own door, he unexpectedly met his close senior, Zihui. She brought with her an acceptance letter from a prestigious university in the United States. She emphasized that this was his last chance. She advised him not to foolishly give up his bright future for anyone, because she herself deeply regretted giving up her doctorate to chase after love. During a study abroad experience sharing session at the school, Mingxi brought a homemade cake to Chunian. When Bohan saw her, he unconsciously smiled gently. Sijiao sat next to Bohan and suggested celebrating his birthday. Bohan coldly refused, saying that he hadn't celebrated his birthday for 2 years. Sijiao was extremely annoyed. Just then, she saw Mingxi preparing the cake. She arrogantly knocked Mingxi's carefully made cake to the ground, haughtily assuming that Bohan didn't like such cheap, petty things. Unable to control her anger, Mingxi threw the spoiled cake at Sijiao in revenge. Bohan heard Mingxi's voice and rushed out to stop the two girls from arguing. Mingxi insisted that Sijiao buy him another cake. Sijiao sarcastically remarked that Mingxi's homemade cake was worthless. Fearing Mingxi would get into trouble, Bohan quickly pulled her away. At this point, Chunian spoke up, explaining that the cake was a gift from Mingxi. Sijiao advised Chunian not to lecture others while she herself was obsessed with boys. Seeing this, Suji immediately chased Sijiao out of Chunian's sight. Taking the opportunity to speak privately with Mingxi, Bohan asked her if she had any romantic relationship with Jingchu. Bohan felt that she was only using the excuse of being close friends to flirt with him all the time. Mingxi warily replied that Jingchu picked her up and dropped her off every day. He even asked if she could possibly be happy with him, using matching cups and toothbrushes. She countered by asking what their relationship was. He said he was tired and wouldn't pursue her anymore. Mingxi unexpectedly confessed that she really liked him. Bohan was stunned, then said he would seriously consider her sudden confession. When Mingxi arrived home, she was horrified to see the mess. She lied, saying that Jingchu was away competing in a tournament, and he had probably knocked over the furniture in his haste. The lights in the house suddenly went out, plunging everything into darkness. Mingxi brought out the remaining cake and offered it to Bohan. Although the cake looked a bit ugly, she still wanted to celebrate his birthday. In the soft, flickering candlelight, Mingxi recounted how, as a child, she often lay alone and imagined herself in a warm wooden house. Bohan was touched and thanked Mingxi for giving him the most meaningful birthday he had ever had. She placed the flickering candle in front of him and urged him to make a wish. He thought to himself that if his wish could come true, life would be free of worries. However, he wanted to share half of his precious wish with her. She happily closed her eyes and made a wish on his birthday. While she was focused on blowing out the candles, he gently touched her cheek. He said she was his wish. The lights suddenly came back on. The light made her frantically hide her blushing face. Just then, she received a text message saying she had won a small small prize. Bohan playfully smeared a piece of cake on her nose to congratulate her. At this moment, Chunian was so upset that she borrowed Suji's tie to wipe away her tears. She asked him if no one liked her. As Sijao had said, Suji immediately objected, saying that her family, Mingxi, and he all loved her very much. Suji mustered up the courage to confess that the first time he met her on the soccer field, he was strongly impressed by her sparkling star-like eyes. Later, when she found out he was injured, she even kindly took him to the doctor. She bravely drank alcohol in his place at the party. He insisted that he genuinely liked her. Chunian, visibly moved, said this was the first time someone had confessed their feelings to her, and she wouldn't choose anyone from the basketball team besides him. Sujie smiled happily. He gently touched her rosy lips, then timidly took her hand tightly. Xiaoyang still remembered Ziwi's strict coffee drinking habits. Because she liked it, he had taken the time to research some coffee brewing techniques. He remembered her birthday was coming up, so he wanted to give himself to her as a gift. In another development, the debt collectors came looking for Mingxi to cause trouble. Just then, Ziwi happened to pass by, so she gave Mingxi a ride to escape. Ziwi asked Mingxi to persuade Bohan to accept the invitation from a foreign basketball team. Ziwi explained that Bohan had been pursuing the sport since elementary school. In high school, he was considered a promising four-star player. Upon graduation, he received an invitation to join a foreign team, but after Boyan left, Bohan stopped. Talking about going abroad, Ziwi noticed that Bohan had become happier since he met Mingxi, but he couldn't give up his promising future because of that. Ziwi offered to help Mingxi pay off her debts so she could confidently go abroad to study with Bohan. Mingxi sat listlessly by the riverbank, recalling the two most regrettable moments of her life. When her father was drowning and she was 2 minutes too late for someone to save him, she constantly tormented herself, thinking that if she had run a little faster, she might not have lost her father. Therefore, she longed to win the marathon to find a satisfactory answer for herself. Mingxi arranged to meet the principal and agreed to persuade Bohan to go abroad, but she firmly refused to go with him. She also asked everyone to keep this secret for her. Mingxi took Bohan on the Ferris wheel to admire the view. She told him not to secretly kiss her again. Just as the Ferris wheel stopped abruptly, she lost her balance and fell into. He smiled and said that this time, he would publicly kiss her. He slowly approached and placed a sweet, deep kiss on her lips. Her young heart pounded wildly in her chest. He suggested they go abroad together, saying he wanted to see the vast world. She lied, saying she had paid off all her debts, and that Zihui had even paid her tuition in advance. She mentioned hearing that he had once wanted to join a soccer team in America. He confided that after the sudden death of his younger brother, he harbored resentment and always tried to defy his mother. But if he could go with her, he would seriously consider going abroad after the upcoming soccer match. When Mingxi arrived home, she saw the debt collectors lurking around, so she quickly told Bohan to come home. They were charging Mingxi overdue interest and giving her 3 days to prepare the money. Suji's leg, which had been aching intensely during practice, was hurting more and more. Bohan noticed something suspicious and asked Suji what he was hiding. Suji tried to suppress the pain and lied, saying he only had a minor muscle strain and that the injury wouldn't affect the important match. Bohan seriously asked Suji one last time what was wrong with his leg. Suji finally admitted that his old injury from the qualifying match had recurred. Bohan worriedly urged Suji to seek medical attention, but Suji was determined to participate in the competition. While Mingxi was away, the debt collectors secretly sneaked into her bathroom and placed a hidden camera. They discussed a plan to sell her sensitive videos to make money. Coincidentally, Zheng Wen overheard them and immediately offered to buy all the footage. But Zheng Wen didn't forget to teach them a lesson they'd never forget because he hated such dirty and despicable tactics. The next morning, Si Jiao went to school and showed Mingxi the secretly recorded video on her phone. She threatened to destroy the phone if Mingxi agreed to stay away from Bohan. Mingxi calmly told Si Jiao to rest assured, saying she had no future with Bohan. He's going abroad to study while she'll stay in the country, Si Jiao said. Bohan hates deception the most, so he'll definitely never forgive Mingxi. When Mingxi arrived home, she was surprised to see her shoes neatly placed in front of the door. She went straight to the bathroom and removed the hidden camera. Just then, Jingchu came home and saw the damaged shoes. He said he would take them to be repaired for her. Mingxi suddenly realized that Jingchu was the one who had bought those expensive shoes for her. She was so angry that she accidentally stepped on his foot, unexpectedly causing his old wound to bleed. He quickly explained that it was a wound from a sparring match. Minhee was heartbroken to see him sacrifice so much for her. He frantically apologized, saying he only wanted her to be beautiful, to be as stunning as anyone else at the ball. Mingxi opened the door and emotionally hugged her close friend. Bohan heard that Suji wanted to take high doses of painkillers to participate in the competition, so he decisively decided to remove Suji from the basketball team. Suji confided tearfully that he had no choice but to win. If he failed this time, he would have to follow his family's arrangements and switch to studying law. No matter how weak his legs were, he still wanted to prove that his choice of passion was the right one. Bohan softened and agreed to give Suji a chance to shoot 5 balls and decide whether Suji could participate in the competition. In the final shot, Bohan intentionally missed to help Suji fulfill his burning dream. The 4 national college basketball games officially began in a heated atmosphere. Bohan tried to minimize Suji's playing time. Bohan reminded Suji to protect himself. As Mingxi's marathon competition began, the basketball game also became incredibly intense. Bohan's team scored points continuously, but the opposing team proved to be formidable and tenacious. One member of the opposing team committed a foul by deliberately making a strong collision with Suji's injured knee. Even after Suji sprayed painkiller, he was still in pain and unable to stand up. He remembered his dreams and years of hard work, and he truly didn't want to give up halfway. Tears streamed down his face. He could only helplessly rely on his teammates. Bohan's team was short a player, making it even more difficult for them to create a significant point difference. Meanwhile, Mingxi had already run halfway through the grueling marathon. Just as she stumbled and felt exhausted and wanted to give up, the image of her beloved father suddenly came to mind. Her father taught her to tie her shoelaces tightly and then continue towards her goal. Knowing her father was always watching over her, Mingxi confidently got up and continued running. Near the end of the second half, Bohan's team was still trailing their opponent by 3 points. Suji asked the captain for one last chance to give his all for his passion for basketball. Returning to the game, Bohan made a determined effort to break through the defense and pass the ball to a teammate. Suji jumped high with all his might, finally leveling the score for the team. In the decisive last-minute free throw, the team members entrusted Suji with the crucial task. Everyone in the stands was skeptical, but Suji only needed his passion and the absolute trust of his teammates. He focused intensely to score a perfect point, bringing victory to the team. After the game, the whole group rushed to drive to cheer on Mingxi. Bohan chased after her and shared the good news that their team had brilliantly won the championship. Mingxi breathed a sigh of relief and worked hard to conquer the final stretch of the race to the finish line. The group lined up with banners and set off fireworks to celebrate the determined young woman. Under the bright sunshine of youth, they created moments of vibrant, happy youthfulness together. The whole group returned to Mingxi's house and held a celebratory party. Xu Hao recalled that Bohan had met Mingxi at the barbershop. Therefore, he assumed Bohan had fallen in love with Mingxi at first sight. Bohan took Mingxi home and urged Xu Hao to find a girlfriend to keep him busy. Xu Hao said he didn't want to leave Xiaoyan alone, but his friend revealed he already had someone in his heart. Xu Hao lamented that Bohan was also preparing to go abroad, leaving his teammates behind. Bohan said he had to wait for Mingxi to finish her application before deciding on a specific departure date. The group took a memorable commemorative photo together. Bohan's mother waited for him to come home and urged him to quickly sign the 4-year training contract with the foreign team. He felt reassured knowing Mingxi would be with him, so he signed the contract. He called Zihui to arrange a meeting, but she was busy interviewing university applicants in the US. Bohan became suspicious and quickly contacted Mingxi. Sure enough, she was working part-time at the store. She hadn't gone for an interview at all. He asked his mother if she knew beforehand that Mingxi hadn't applied to a university in America. After Mingxi learned that Bohan had discovered her deception, she panicked and ran away with Jingchu. Bohan tried to chase after her, but she was determined to leave him so he could have a better future. She knew he would hardly forgive her, but she couldn't ruin the bright future of the man she loved. Bohan waited outside Mingxi's house, wanting her to come out and talk things through. Jingchu couldn't persuade Bohan. Losing control, Bohan punched Jingchu. He watched heartbrokenly as their beautiful future crumbled little by little. The happy memories remained intact, but he knew he might lose her forever. Bohan went to the windy riverbank and looked at Boyang's cold tombstone. Boyang, like Mingxi, had once loved Bohan deeply, but then he left Bohan. Bohan watched the video of Boyang's last performance, the one he had missed years ago. Boyang's music was full of love, but it also contained so much unspoken sorrow. Bohan choked up as he told Boyang that he had seen the performance. He hoped that Boyang would continue to sing happily in the afterlife. After Bohan left, Sijao also visited Boyang's grave. She sincerely apologized to the deceased, hoping he would forgive her mistakes. It turned out that 2 years ago, in a fit of rage, Sijao had burned all the love letters she she had sent to Bohan. But she didn't realize that among them was an invitation to Boyan's important concert. When Bohan found out, he was furious. He forbade her from ever coming near him again. At this time, Zheng Wen resolutely refused to allow his father to marry Si Jiao's mother. He advised her mother to see clearly the terrible things his father had done to her. His father, enraged, grabbed the picture frame and was about to hit him. Luckily, Si Jiao rushed out and shielded Zheng Wen. She also believed that the relationship between her mother and Zheng Wen's father was purely one of mutual benefit. Zheng Wen held Si Jiao's hand tightly and led her away from this suffocating family. On the windy rooftop, he wondered where his mother was in the world. Did she have some personal troubles that prevented her from visiting him? Si Jiao assured him that no matter what, she would never abandon Zheng Wen. He prepared a dazzling fireworks display to comfort his sad younger sister. Zheng Wen promised Si Jiao that he would be by her side for life. Only then did Si Jiao realize that Zheng Wen knew all her preferences and tastes. Moreover, she found his shoulders strong enough for her to lean on. He turned and gently gazed at the little girl in his arms. But suddenly, a car sped towards him and crashed straight into him. It turned out that the debt collectors who had been beaten the day before had come to take revenge on Zheng Wen. Zheng Wen's funeral took place on a gloomy, rainy day. Si Jiao tried to suppress her grief, but a storm raged within her. She wondered why Zheng Wen's mother hadn't come to see him one last time. Only then did her mother reveal the heartbreaking truth. Zheng Wen's mother had passed away long ago. Si Jiao held the familiar lollipop in her hand, but she could never again see Zheng Wen's proud figure holding it in his mouth. Si Jiao stared at the rose in the glass case and noticed a small card beside it. Zheng Wen had written that he knew there were countless fragrant flowers in the world, but Si Jiao was unique in his heart. Si Jiao painfully realized that in every moment of her life, whether joyful or sorrowful, Zheng Wen had been silently present. He was always by her side. He indulged her and did everything she wanted unconditionally. She wished that, at the moment he turned around that day, she had managed to say those 3 words, "I like you," and perhaps they would have been happy together forever, instead of the current separation of life and death. Sometime later, Bohan said goodbye to his mother and went to the airport to study abroad. Although he always opposed his mother, he couldn't bear to leave his dearest loved one. He sent many messages to Mingxi, but received no reply. Unbeknownst to him, she was rushing to the airport to see him one last time. Mingxi watched Bohan's car speed past as she chased after it, screaming his name in despair. She feared that all those beautiful, dreamlike memories would be cruelly erased by time. Mingxi spoke to herself through tears. "Zhang Bohan, perhaps from the beginning we were just curious about each other, but gradually you entered my world without me even realizing it. If liking someone is like falling into a long sleep, then I absolutely don't want to wake up, because I really, really like you. I like the way you shine brightly in my eyes. I like how you help me become more confident. I feel like Cinderella, lucky enough to meet her prince in a fairy tale. However, we didn't belong to the same world. After this brief encounter, we don't know when we'll be able to reunite, but having happy memories with you is the greatest thing in my life." 3 months later, Bohan, far away, gazed at the bright moon, remembering Mingxi. He didn't know that in distant China, wherever she looked, she pictured his familiar figure. Both were immersed in intense longing, yet they stubbornly refused to contact each other. Every time Mingxi saw a shooting star streak across the sky, she felt as if Bohan's warm breath was right behind her. She realized that longing, though delicate as a thread, could seep into every cell of her body without needing to be etched into her very being. 4 years later, Jingchu held a small, cozy birthday celebration for Mingxi. She wished that those she loved would always be healthy and become the best versions of themselves. The last wish she thought would never come true. Jingchu borrowed that wish, hoping Mingxi would always be happy. After drinking some wine, Mingxi was drowsy. She mistook Jingchu for Bohan. She said she missed Bohan very much. She only wished he wouldn't leave her again. She didn't want to go to sleep because she wanted to wait for his birthday message. Jingchu bitterly realized that no matter how much time passed, he could never replace Bohan's place in her heart. Even though Bohan wasn't by Mingxi's side, whenever she closed her eyes, she would think of him first. Just a few short months with him seemed to have condensed all the memories of her youth. That time was enough for her to reminisce for a lifetime. But in distant Los Angeles, Bohan never stopped thinking about Mingxi. Si Jiao knew that Mingxi's image was deeply etched in his heart, impossible to fade. She wondered if he had ever liked her. He frankly stated that he had always cherished her as a close friend. Si Jiao has now let go of her unrequited feelings. She advises him to take the initiative and claim what he wants. Suji is in a magnificent wedding dress shop, happily gazing at his beautiful future bride. He gives her a passionate kiss in front of admiring eyes. Chunian dismisses everyone so she can help Mingxi try on dresses. Mingxi innocently innocently wonders why bridesmaids also have to wear veils. Chunian makes an excuse to go find something so she can call Suji in. Mingxi is adjusting her appearance in front of the mirror when she unexpectedly encounters Bohan standing right behind her. She quickly tries to avoid him, but in her haste, she falls into his arms. He quickly chases after her, pulling her back to face him. Mingxi chokes back tears and asks why Bohan left without a word to follow. Sijao abroad all those years ago. He cruelly cut off all contact with her for 4 years. She asks him what she really is to him. He said nothing, only holding her tightly in his arms. Filled with remorse, it turned out the truth was that 4 years ago, Jingchu had accidentally discovered a hidden camera discarded in a trash can. He informed Bohan, who located the phone connected to the camera in Sijiao's dance studio. She recounted how the creditors had secretly filmed Mingxi to threaten and extort money. Jingchu forced Sijiao to give him the phone containing the hidden video. During the struggle, Sijiao unfortunately fell down the stairs. Doctors diagnosed her with a serious leg injury, rendering her unable to continue her dancing career. Bohan took all the blame on Jingchu's behalf. Sijiao begged her mother not to report it to the police, asking Bohan to take her abroad for treatment. Furthermore, she stipulated that he was not allowed to contact Mingxi during that time. After Mingxi understood the whole story, she finally opened up to Bohan, saying she was doing very well now. She had even paid off all her debts, but she wasn't going to forgive him so easily. Mingxi smiled and asked Bohan if he still liked strawberry flavor. He playfully responded by asking if she still liked him. Under the brilliant sunset, she slowly approached and placed a kiss filled with longing on the lips of the man she had loved for so many years. He was moved to learn that she still carefully kept his old school uniform. She suddenly pretended to have a headache and made him take responsibility for the ball hitting her years ago. Finally, Bohan returned to Mingxi. Their youthful story had no regrets. They would forever remember the image of young people sitting in the blazing room. They talked about the future aimlessly but with passion. They remembered the moment they defied everything to cling to the last chance slipping through their fingers. They remembered the unrestrained shouts, the naive confessions before they had tasted the bitterness of love. Because they were young then, they dared to gamble everything, and they also dared to lose. So, while we're still in the impulsive phase of youth, let's love wholeheartedly. Regardless of the consequences, let's create a memorable and regret-free youth. Because youth is like a sudden rain shower. Even if you catch a cold from getting wet, you'll still want to go back and immerse yourself in that rain one more time. The story of Bohan and Mingxi has ended happily, but the sweet aftertaste and passion of that youth will surely linger in our hearts. If you see yourself somewhere in this youthful rain shower, don't hesitate to give us a like and subscribe to our channel to support us. Leave a comment below about your favorite character. Who knows, we might meet again in another beautiful love story in the next video. Goodbye and see you again.